So I was doom scrolling through Reddit, as you do, and I came across a thread which linked this article from newrepublic.com. And the Redditors, they loved this. They were absolutely creaming themselves over it. The the segment from this article is called Fighting Words, which there's a difference between temerity and courage. I wouldn't call it brave to attack the United States of America's president based off of fan fiction, which is what this article is, as it says, it can now be plainly said Trump is planning a November coup d'etat. It's quite the accusation. Well, the article starts off with saying that Kamala Harris and the Democrats warned of this happening. They said that once Trump got in power, he was going to keep it forever, that he was going to destroy democracy and all of this. But weirdly, they state that Harris's hypotheticals were mostly vague. So if she or any Democrat tried to say, for example, that there was a very real threat that once in office Trump might try to cancel the elections, most people kind of tuned that out. Well, I don't think there's any way for you to prove that people tuned it out. That's a weird thing to say. It's a weird, like, you've just thrown people a lifeline, like saying, well, it's not your fault. Like, the Democrats, long before Trump was elected the second time, spent countless hours, countless posts, countless threads spamming nonstop about Trump on Reddit and other social media sites. I saw it constantly, telling the world that he was evil, that he shouldn't be president, that he's a monster. And I understand where they're coming from with that, but I'm just saying that they weren't tuning out anything. That's just some weird fantasy that you're having. They then mention that they are more willing to believe that Trump might try to cancel elections and take over the media. Yeah, I think that's pretty obvious based off the fact that you're posting on New Republic. But then they say that when they sat down to try and think about how, they couldn't quite figure out the specifics. No president has ever tried to do either of those things. So how could Trump pull it off? Yeah, no president's ever tried to control the media or to run a third term. I mean, I know that Ulysses Grant was considering running a third term, and there was comics made about it from the guy who actually created the donkey and elephant mascot symbology for the parties, Thomas Nast. This guy created a cartoon back in 1874 called Third Term Panic when President Ulysses Grant was contemplating running a third time. Now, back then, it was legal to do that, but apparently people still didn't like you doing it. So, I mean, yeah, okay, they didn't actually run for it, but even back then, you had people contemplating running for a third term. And Nast, Thomas Nast, he was a member of the Abraham Lincoln's party, a Republican, and he drew the New York Herald, depicted as a donkey wrapped in lion's skin, frightening all of the other animals in the zoo with wild stories of a Grant dictatorship. This is written by CNN, just to be clear. It's not me making this up. CNN wrote this. I decided to use the CNN article for this. There's other ones, obviously, because CNN's hyper left wing, right? Then again, literally today, the same day I'm seeing this, I'm also seeing a bunch of people posting threads about how CNN is now a puppet of MAGA. So, I guess nothing's good enough. Now CNN's being purity tested. Well, how could Trump ever pull off controlling the media? It's not like anyone's ever done that before. Definitely not a U.S. president. Let's never even think about how that could happen. So they go on to talk about the Washington Post. They say, and yes, there's still good reporting going on there. Yeah, you mean left-wing reporting. That pro-Trump, air quote, activists, and then they have a parenthesis that says a rather generous and perverse use of that word, I think. Well, I already know you think that based on why you put it in quotes. You don't need to have a parenthesis afterwards that explains to me that you don't like the word activist being used for Trump activists. Left-wing activists, just to be clear, they call everyone they dislike a Nazi, a fascist, a supremacist, a racist, a misogynist, a PDF file, and any other anti-Semitic, Islamophobe, any word they can think of, homophobe, transphobe, all of that. They accuse everyone of all of these words as an act to designate them for death, to mark them for death, so that it's okay. It's okay. It's validated. Oh, it's okay. It's okay to kill them because, there are all these words. That's what the left wing's, air quote, activists do. So, I wouldn't be throwing too much shade at the pro-Trump activists. Say what you want about Trump, but I'd take the right-wing activists any day over left-wing activists. Well, they say that these, or rather, they say that the Washington Post says that there are activists working with the Trump administration to circulate a 17-page draft executive order. I don't know how activists are somehow involved in and passing around an executive order with the Trump admin. But this executive order claims that China interfered in the 2020 election, and they think this is going to be a basis for Trump taking over the voting and stopping all voting and banning mail-in balloting and such. What they specifically say isn't stopping voting. It's mandating voter ID and banning mail-in balloting. And at the State of the Union, Trump said he was going to mandate voter ID. Now, I don't really understand how this is a problem, especially because some places, like where I live, already do that, and also it just makes sense. Why would you want some person who's lived their entire life in Cambodia to come over to the USA and for just one day in the USA, and cast their vote for who should rule over the USA? I mean, that's really weird, isn't it? I mean, there's only one possible explanation as to why someone might want a system like that in place, and it's really just for fraud. No other explanation, is there?
It's very simple. All voters must show voter ID. All voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote.
And the mail-in balloting, that was mentioned at the State of the Union as well, but there wasn't a ban on it. There was probably like some restrictions on it, but Trump did mention all of the different ways you'd still be able to do it for people who could do it.
No more crooked mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. None.
So it's not like it's banned outright, which, okay, that's just Trump saying it. It's not like it's on ink yet, but it's his word against this person's word, and this person's an extremist as well. So, like, who are you gonna trust? Just flip a coin, I guess. Anyway, they say the premise regarding the draft about China cheating on the elections, the premise, it almost goes without saying, is a total lie. China did not interfere in the 2020 election. So there's two absolute statements there, both with a source of trust me, bro. They're saying that Trump lied, and they're saying that China did not interfere. I am a total nobody, so I don't know whether or not a foreign superpower interfered with the presidential election. This person apparently does. They also know that Trump lied. That's a little bit more likely, to be fair. But two absolute truths here told, and the only source for it is trust me, bro. And that's the only source there ever will be for it as well. It's not like they're ever going to find out whether or not China was guilty of anything. They go on to talk about China and Biden and all that, but that's just a little bit of fluff for the article, talking about who's guilty of what, saying that Russia helped spread pro-Trump messages as early as 2014. Don't really know why. People claim that Trump's a Putin puppet, but like, if you were in control of the USA, would you be the puppet of Putin? Why would the president of the USA ever be a puppet to another country, unless there was some sort of like hyper religious extremism tying them to another country, which I don't see Trump being religious, so I'm guessing he's not a puppet. It's it could be anything. That, like, if Russia was involved, which they probably were, honestly, I'm inclined to believe that, but it could be anything. Like, it could just be like view botting. Like, someone can view bot you and then accuse you of being a view botter to hurt your reputation, to tarnish your rep, and they're the one view botting you, and like, you have no control over that, and you can't prove that you're not doing it. I think Trump would be okay if someone view botted him, to be honest. I mean, I don't think he'd have a problem with that, but you can't just throw around accusations. Well, I guess you can throw around accusations, since this person's throwing around plenty of accusations, even making up fan fiction. There's a little bit more of that, but before we get to it, there is an anti-Trump legal expert, Norm Eisen, who said that Trump has no power to adjust how the voting works to end mail-in balloting and stuff, and this article agrees with that Trump has no power to decree that voters must present ID or to end mail-in balloting. It's yet to be seen, frankly. I think putting forth some legislation to force ID at the very least, if not mail-in balloting. But the mail-in balloting is easily manipulated as well. So, not to mention it just slows everything down to an immense degree. But the thing is, if you believe that he can't do this, then isn't isn't everything up until this point in the article just fear mongering? Like, I mean, if you think he can't do it, then what are you saying, really? And that's where we get to the fan fiction part. Under the Insurrection Act or some other dusty statute, let's just take a quick aside here to point out the dusty statute comment. Yes, the Democrats who constantly say Constitution and amendments as if they're magical spells, they're classifying the Insurrection Act as a dusty statute, as if to say that you can simply ignore American laws when they displease you. Like, for instance, immigration laws. Anyway, the Insurrection Act or some other dusty statute, he can declare a state of emergency. Then he can decide that said state permits, nay, requires him to take extraordinary measures. On October 5th, say that might mean outlawing early voting, and so on and so forth. But this is all fan fiction. This is all just an imaginary scenario that he's come up with. Have trouble seeing that happen? I didn't think so. Well, actually, I do kind of have a bit of trouble seeing that happen. I'm guessing you had an argument with a mirror and you won, which is unsurprising. But this is all just very extreme, like pedal to the metal, turn it up to 11, fear mongering. And whenever someone does something like that, I just have to assume that they're getting something out of it. I mean, who's even to say that this isn't state paid propaganda? Turning people against Trump turns people on Trump's side, honestly, because you make people so crazy against him, so totally mad against him. The people who are going out there accusing everyone who's not a Democrat of deserving to die, like, that's in Trump's favor. All of those people becoming like the crazy lefties on TikTok and stuff, that works in Trump's favor. This article will work in Trump's favor because it just comes across as crazy. I'm going to skip over some parts where they talk about some media takeovers, Paramount, Skydance, crap like that. It's important on the grander scale, but it's really just talking about monopolies and state medias and such. So I want to move on to the end of this, which is more fan fiction. So picture this. It's October. The mystery Trump accuser, the one whom the FBI files have strangely gone missing for, has come forward. Her allegations against the President of the United States are lurid and to most of the country credible. Trump is down 29% in the polls. The economy is still limping. The polls all indicate that the GOP is in for a historic thrashing. Democrats are favored to win the House and by now are odds on to maybe take the Senate too. Their candidates in Alaska and Texas have now pulled slightly ahead, and Trump declares a state of emergency and postpones the elections. The Supreme Court issues an emergency stay saying he can't do that, but the court has no army, and Trump does, along with a handful of lick-spittle governors who just might follow him down whatever dark path he plows. That, not to mince words, is a coup d'etat. No, that, not to mince words, is fan fiction. Will he get away with it? With what, exactly? You've presented an imaginary scenario as truth and then asked if he'll get away with it. I understand the importance of hypotheticals. This article ends, the final sentence is saying it's becoming less and less hypothetical by the week, but this is not Warren Buffett predicting the stock market. This is someone presenting a worst-case scenario whilst accusing the president and the government of the ones committing this scenario and saying that you need to be terrified of it. And I can only really see that as appealing explicitly to people who are sitting there with their knees clutched to their chest, doom scrolling through Blue Sky and TikTok and Reddit, going, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, the dictator Trump's gonna come for me." I can only see that as being aimed at those people, because anyone right of the blue wall is going to look at this and think, "Dude's crazy. The dude's completely crazy," and that's how I feel about it. I mean, it's fan fiction. Fan fiction that presents itself a little bit too seriously for my liking. And then it ends with, "That's how fascism descends," which is just, that's how fascism starts, except you've slightly changed it. I'm not sure the point. And this is by Michael Tomasky of New Republic, which, I mean, this other article by him, I just scrolled down just slightly and saw, "We haven't lost our sense of shame. Only Republicans have." Yes, that narrative never gets old. We're the good guys, they're the bad guys. Everything we do is right. Everything they do is wrong. I mean, it's so fucking tedious. I don't even know if the person themselves takes it seriously. And what's going to happen when you keep posting this kind of extreme stuff? I think I mentioned it earlier. You're just going to keep pushing everyone who's not a Democrat away from the Democrats. Take, for example, this thread, which I found around the same time as the other ones. It was posted on r/law, a sub that's usually quite moderated, well curated, and yet, like many other aspects of Reddit, is quickly becoming very, very unmoderated, very, very rabid in its leftist ideology.
Time flies. Time flies. Maybe we do one more term. Should we do one more term? Do one more term. Well, we're entitled to it because they cheated like hell in the second one.
Yeah. Okay. So that, like, you can make fun of Trump all you want for that. You say all the crap you want, but when you're barging into other people's spaces, like r/law is not a place for you to make this thread. And as you can see from his comment here, or her comment, whoever their comment, you can see their intent. It's not about law. It's to just call him a PDF file, to call him a rapist, to call him whatever. It's to fear-mongering. It's just like this New Republic article. Our democracy is dangling by a thread, and for what? This isn't about law. It's about fear-mongering. It's about smearing. It's about spreading propaganda. So Tomasky earlier in the article claims that Kamala Harris gave us vague reasoning as to why Trump would take over the world and be a super dictator and such, destroy democracy, but everyone tuned it out because no one understood her vague messages. Well, here's her in 2019 saying that Trump would take us to war with Iran for no good reason whatsoever, claiming that it would be completely because of his ego, his personal insecurities. And right then and there, she's undermined any potential for him to do it, under any circumstance, because she's set the stage as the vice president, president-elect, would go on to be the president-elect. She's set the stage for denying any possibility of this happening. Like, it doesn't matter what reason there is, no matter what, no matter how good the reason, she's already blamed it on his ego years in advance, which is incredibly rat-like to do. So this is like biblical prophecies. Like, there's going to be natural disasters. Yeah, there always is. There's going to be wars. There always is. There's going to be diseases. Yeah, there always is. Sons will turn against fathers. There always is. It doesn't mean the biblical apocalypse has come upon us. There's plenty of reasons to go to war in the Middle East. Now, I'm not necessarily saying we have a good reason right now, but there is simply the fact that it's probably not entirely, at least, for Trump's ego, but that is what she said. Right. Pay attention to how she talks, like she's constipated. Oh, I have such emotions. Oh, you can hear how, oh, my heart bleeds so much for these people, pretending that she actually cares.
This president is thinking about putting us in a position where we're in a war with Iran. The consequences will be absolutely unacceptable and tragic in terms of the young men and women who are American soldiers who would be sent and deployed into something that was completely avoidable.
Wow, such emotion. S-tier acting, honestly. Well, on top of Kamala Harris, you now have today, that was posted today, this is posted today, it shouldn't be too surprising that something dug up from 2019 would be posted on the day we've gone to war with Iran again, but Joe Biden warns that Donald Trump will try to steal the midterm elections. And he also made some snide comments about how he didn't try to, like, offer any condolences to the Epstein victims and such, because, you know, with the left it's always accusations and sympathy and crap like that. I mean, I don't really see how that's relevant. Like, you're talking about him stealing the midterms and destroying democracy and becoming a dictator, and for some reason that also means that he has to say some nice words to the Epstein victims. I mean, like, how do you even tie those two things together unless you've just loaded a shotgun full of total bullshit? Well, this is the previous administration, on top of all of their voter base, just riling them all up. They are stoking the flames, and what's going to happen as a result of this, of the previous president, of the previous vice president, of this article stoking the flames? Well, I mean, black people Twitter. It's an anti-white, anti-West, anti-America subreddit where it's almost entirely, like almost every thread on here is basically just anti-America or anti-white. And here we say they're not going to fight. They're just refusing. The Democrats are just going to refuse to go to war. So anti-America is pretty self-evident there. They are just going to refuse to go to war. And you should see it gets even worse than that. Another subreddit taken over by the Democratic bots, r/art. Although we already know that art's taken over by Democrats, has been for at least a decade. If you've ever seen a movie or played a video game made since, 2015 or so. But here we have a depiction of bite the hand that kills your neighbor. So they're stating that illegal immigrants are our neighbors, and we should kill the government if they dare to arrest them. And this is what Kamala Harris wants, it seems. This, it seems, is what Biden wants. This is what the author of this article seems to want. They want the citizens of this country to attack this country. They want to turn us against ourselves. And a message of negativity and violence is rarely one that will produce positive results. Even if it does succeed, the results probably will not be something that you actually want in the end. They are turning American citizens into rabid dogs. What exactly do you think is going to happen to rabid dogs? They are pushing everyone so far to the right that I don't think there is a chance that the Democrats are going to win again, even if Trump didn't steal the midterms, which I think historically presidents have always done pretty bad in the midterms anyway. So like no matter how it turns out, it would be bad for him regardless. People will use it as some sort of evidence that he's losing, but I think it's always bad for presidents in the midterms. So this is the outcome right here. American citizens attacking each other based off of fear-mongering. This is not a positive message. I thought Democrats were supposed to be the positive people, the empathetic ones that had huge hearts and positivity and kindness. Does this look positive to you? Does this look kind to you? The people who want to kill everyone who disagrees with them. That's their message. And it's not going to be good. It's just going to push everyone further to the right. Even people who aren't right-wing now are going to become right. And people who are going to see this saying, well, we're the party of positivity, right? Why are you posting this? They're going to see more and more of this. It's gonna bleed out into places like this, r/art, which is more mainstream. It's just gonna get worse. And it's gonna get worse because of fear-mongering. There's no positivity. It's just negativity. It's dooming. The world is at its end, and we have to kill everyone who disagrees with us. That's the current message of the Democrats. And I disagree with it. I disagree with the way they're going about it. I'm not right-wing or left-wing, but how am I supposed to be in favor of this? Anyway, I just wish people would be a little bit more moderate. You don't have to be all the way on the wall, left or right. Well, thanks for watching.